10.24 to 1942. Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. 21:30 hours. Sergeant John Basilone, 26 years old, crouched behind 1917 A1 heavy machine gun on ridge 1,500 yards south of Henderson Field. 2 machine gun sections, 16 Marines total. Darkness absolute. Heavy clouds blocked moonlight. Rain soaking through uniforms, turning jungle floor to slick mud. Humidity suffocating even at night. Then he heard them. Japanese voices, thousands of them. Movement through jungle. Sound of entire division advancing. 3,000 soldiers from Sendai Division, considered one of best infantry formations in Japanese army, were pushing through darkness toward his position. 16 Marines with 2 machine guns. Mathematics brutal. Odds impossible. Sergeant Ralph Briggs, observation post 3,000 yards forward, had called Lieutenant Colonel Louis Chesty Puller minutes earlier. "Colonel, there's about 3,000 Japs between you and me." Gave Puller's battalion 30 minutes warning before impact. 30 minutes to prepare for attack that could break through to Henderson Field. 30 minutes before everything changed. This single defensive position would determine whether Marines holding Henderson Field survived the night, whether Japanese captured critical airfield, whether Allied offensive in Pacific continued or collapsed. One machine gunner. One impossible night. One decision that would ripple through Pacific War. Watch what happens when 16 Marines refuse to break. 10.942 marked critical juncture for Pacific War. Guadalcanal represented first major Allied offensive against Japanese expansion. 1st Marine Division, under Major General Alexander Vandegrift, had landed 8.07 1942 and captured partially completed Japanese airfield. Initial landing relatively unopposed. Marine secured unfinished runway, completed it using captured Japanese construction equipment, named it Henderson Field after Major Lofton Henderson, Marine aviator, killed at Midway. For 2.5 months, Japanese tried retaking that airfield, sent reinforcements at night aboard destroyers and cruisers. Supply method Marines called Tokyo Express. Ships raced down the slot, channel between Solomon Islands, unloaded troops and supplies on Guadalcanal's beaches, raced back before American aircraft could attack at dawn. Method effective but limited. Tokyo Express could deliver troops and light equipment, not heavy artillery, vehicles, bulk supplies needed for major offensive. Japanese soldiers arrived with rifles and basic gear. Everything else had to be carried by hand through jungle. Despite limitations, Japanese continued reinforcing. 8/21 1942, Colonel Kiyonao Ishiki landed with approximately 900 men from 28th Infantry Regiment. Attacked at Alligator Creek. Marine firepower annihilated them. Only few dozens survived. 9.213.9942. Major General Kiyotaka Kawaguchi landed with approximately 6,000 men. Attacked at location Marines, later named Edson's Ridge. Battle lasted 2 days. Japanese repulsed with heavy casualties. By mid-10.1942, Japanese had learned from failures, preparing much larger offensive. Lieutenant General Harukichi Hayakutake brought his 17th Army headquarters forward from Rabaul. Positioned heavy artillery, 150 Mayman howitzers. Artillery disassembled, loaded onto destroyers, landed on beaches, reassembled in jungle. Backbreaking work taking weeks. Hayakute had 20,000 soldiers on Guadalcanal. Americans had 11,000 Marines and recently arrived Army troops holding defensive perimeter around Henderson Field. Japanese commander spent 2 weeks positioning forces for what he believed would be decisive battle of Pacific War. Strategic mathematics favored Japanese. They had numbers, they had heavy artillery, they had momentum, they had plan assuming Marines would break under pressure. Sendai Division represented cream of Japanese infantry. Most soldiers from Miyagi Prefecture on Honshu, trained in Manchuria, fought in Java, experienced, disciplined, confident, believed Henderson Field would fall before dawn. Marines on Guadalcanal were exhausted, fighting since 8.07 1942. Expected 6 months training before combat commitment. Instead, Admiral Ernest J. King, Commander-in-Chief United States Fleet, had accelerated timeline. Radio intelligence warned Japanese were building airbase on Guadalcanal. If completed, that base would threaten Allied supply lines to Australia and New Zealand. King convinced Army Chief of Staff General George C. Marshall to authorize Operation Watchtower. 1st Marine Division under Vandegrift would seize Guadalcanal. Division filled with new recruits, mostly teenagers enlisted after Pearl Harbor. Minimal training, no combat experience, but they were what King had available. So they went. At southern edge of American defensive line, directly in path of Japanese assault, sat 2 sections of heavy machine guns commanded by Sergeant John Basilone d'Or. Basilone was from Raritan, New Jersey, son of Italian immigrant tailor. Father Salvatore Basilone immigrated from Colle Sanita in southern Italy 1903, settled in Raritan, worked as tailor. Mother Dora Bencivenga, born in United States. Parents also from same region of Italy. John was one of 10 children. Grew up in working-class neighborhood. Attended St. Bernard Parochial School. Dropped out after finishing 8th grade at age 15. Worked as golf caddy at local country club before deciding to join military. 1934 at age 17. Enlisted in United States Army, assigned to 16th Infantry at Fort J. Transferred to 31st Infantry Regiment. Completed 3-year enlistment serving in Philippines. Stationed at Manila. Became champion boxer in regimental competitions. Fellow soldiers started calling him Manila John, nickname that stuck rest of his life. After discharge 1937, Basilone returned to United States. Worked as truck driver in Reisterstown, Maryland. Work steady but unsatisfying. Missed military life. Missed camaraderie, sense of purpose, structure. By 1940, decided to return to service. Believed he could get back to Philippines faster by joining Marine Corps, rather than re-enlisting in Army. 7.1 1940. Enlisted in Marines at Baltimore. Boot camp at Marine Corps. Recruit depot Paris Island. Additional training at Quantico and New River, Darda. Marines recognized his previous military experience and weapons expertise, made him instructor, but Basilone wanted combat unit, assigned to D Company, 1st Battalion, 7th Marines as machine gun section leader. Army training made him one of most knowledgeable machine gunners in battalion. 1917 A1 heavy machine gun was complex weapon requiring proper handling, maintenance, tactical employment. Basilone knew it intimately, could field strip blindfolded, could clear jams in seconds, could maintain sustained fire for hours if ammunition available. Weapon itself, water-cooled 30 caliber machine gun. Weighed approximately 103 pounds with tripod. Cyclic rate 450-600 rounds per minute. Effective range 1,550 round cloth belts. Fed from 250 round cloth belts. Water jacket around barrel prevented overheating during sustained fire. Required 2-man crew minimum, but Basilone could operate alone if necessary. His job was simple, hold the line. But problem Basilone faced that night was not simple. Japanese had numbers, had momentum, had plan assuming Marines would break under pressure. Basilone had 2 machine gun sections, 16 Marines total, 2 guns, limited ammunition, no possibility of withdrawal, orders clear, hold position at all costs. 21:30 hours. Briggs's warning came through. 3,000 Japanese soldiers, advancing, 30 minutes until contact. Basilone checked his guns. Ammunition belts laid out. Water jackets filled. Fields of fire cleared. Marines in position. Waiting. Waiting. Thunder rumbled in distance. Not weather. Japanese artillery beginning bombardment. Heavy shells screaming overhead, impacting Marine positions behind Basilone's line. 100 mm cannon, 150 mm howitzers. Barrage designed to soften defenses before infantry assault. Basilone and his Marines hunched in foxholes as shells exploded around them. Dirt and debris raining down, concussive blasts shaking ground, ears ringing, but guns remained intact, positions held. Then artillery lifted, Silence for 30 seconds. Then Japanese infantry emerged from jungle darkness. First wave hit 22:00 hours. Japanese soldiers screaming battle cries, charging up ridge toward Marine positions. Basilone's first gun opened fire. Tracer rounds cutting through darkness. 30 caliber bullets tearing through attacking infantry at 2,600 feet per second. Japanese soldiers fell. Others kept coming. Wave after wave. Basilone traversed gun left and right, hosing incoming assault with sustained fire. Belt after belt feeding through weapon. Barrel glowing red-hot despite water cooling. Brass casings piling up around gun position. First gun jammed. Basilone cleared it in seconds. Resumed firing. Japanese kept coming, closer now. 100 yards, 75 yards, 50 yards. Close enough to throw grenades. Explosions bracketing gun position. Shrapnel singing through air. Second gun crew taking casualties. Gunner hit, loader hit. Gun silent. Basilone grabbed spare barrel, sprinted across 30 yards of open ground under fire, reached second position. Dead and wounded Marines sprawled around gun. He rolled gunner aside, took position behind weapon, resumed firing. Japanese soldiers 25 yards away. Basilone could see faces in muzzle flashes. Young men. Determined. Dying. Gun cycling through belt after belt. His shoulders absorbed recoil. Hands blistered from hot metal. Vision blurred from cordite smoke. Gun ran dry. No ammunition bearers left alive. Basilone sprinted 50 yards through darkness to ammunition dump. Grabbed 2 belts, slung them over shoulders, started back. Japanese grenade landed 3 feet away. Dove. Explosion. Shrapnel missed. Kept running. Reached gun. Loaded fresh belt. Resumed firing. Japanese assault faltered. Bodies piled in front of position. Survivors retreated into darkness. First wave repulsed. Basilone checked casualties. Of 16 Marines in 2 sections, 8 were dead or wounded. 8 left standing. 2 guns still operational. Ammunition low. Water for gun jackets running out. Japanese would attack again. Question was when. Question was when. 23:15 hours. Second wave hit, larger than first. Perhaps 500 Japanese soldiers. Same screaming battle cries. Same suicidal courage. Same inevitable outcome. Basilone's remaining gun crews opened fire, sustained bursts, controlled fire discipline despite desperation. Every bullet counted, every belt precious. Japanese soldiers fell in windows. Others climbed over bodies, kept advancing. Machine gun overheated, water jacket boiling, steam rising from barrel. Basilone urinated into jacket to cool it. Desperate measure. Worked. Gun resumed firing. Japanese reaching grenade range. Explosions everywhere. Marine positions taking hits. Casualties mounting. Basilone's loader killed. Gunner wounded. Basilone alone behind weapon. Firing. Reloading. Firing. Reloading. Mechanical. Reloading. Mechanical. Relentless. Second wave broke. Retreated. Left more bodies. More wounded crying in darkness. Basilone surveyed position. 3 Marines left standing. Himself, 2 others. 13 dead or wounded. Both guns damaged but functional. Ammunition nearly exhausted. Japanese would attack again. Mathematics clear. Couldn't hold another major assault. He grabbed field telephone. Called Puller. Reported situation. Needed ammunition. Needed water. Needed reinforcements if available. Puller's response simple. Hold your position. Ammunition coming. Reinforcements if possible. Hold. Basilone looked at 2 remaining Marines. Young. Terrified. Determined. He told them they were holding. No retreat. No surrender. Marines don't quit. 0:30 hours 10.25, 1942. Ammunition bearers arrived. Crawled through darkness carrying belts and water cans. Basilone distributed ammunition. Refilled gun jackets. Prepared for next assault. Third wave hit 10 hours. Different tactics this time. Japanese infantry advancing in smaller groups, using cover, probing for weak points, more sophisticated, more dangerous. Basilone adjusted fire. Short bursts at individual targets, conserving ammunition, making every belt count. Japanese soldiers infiltrating between positions, hand-to-hand fighting erupting along line. Basilone left gun, grabbed one Garand rifle from dead Marine, shot Japanese soldier 5 yards away, shot another, shot third, back to gun, resumed firing, switched between rifle and machine gun as tactical situation demanded. Japanese grenade landed in gun position. Basilone grabbed it, threw it back, exploded in air. Shrapnel missed, resumed firing. Fighting continued through night, wave after wave, Japanese soldiers dying by hundreds, Marines holding by willpower, Basilone everywhere, operating gun, directing fire, distributing ammunition, encouraging Marines, refusing to break. Dawn came 60 hours. Japanese attacks ceased. Survivors retreated into jungle. Marines held their positions, held Henderson Field, held the line. Basilone surveyed battlefield as light revealed carnage. Japanese bodies piled 3 deep in places, blood-soaking ground, wounded crying for help in both English and Japanese, smoke drifting across ridge, stench of cordite and death. Of 16 Marines in his 2 sections, 3 survived unwounded. Basilone and 2 others. 13 casualties. Both guns still functional despite damage. Ammunition nearly exhausted. But position held. Line unbroken. Lieutenant Colonel Puller arrived at position 7 hours, surveyed battlefield, counted Japanese dead, looked at Basilone, looked at destroyed gun positions, looked at 3 surviving Marines. Puller's assessment to division command. Basilone's section held against impossible odds. Estimate 500-700 Japanese killed in front of his position. Recommend highest recognition. But recognition would come later. 10/25, 1942. Work continued. Wounded evacuated. Dead collected. Guns cleaned. Ammunition resupplied. Positions strengthened. Japanese would attack again that night, and night after. Marines had to. Basilone spent day maintaining weapons, helping evacuate wounded, eating first meal in 24 hours, sleeping 3 hours, back online by nightfall, ready for next assault. Japanese attacked again 10/25 to 1942 night. Smaller force, less coordinated. Marine defenses stronger. Attack repulsed with fewer casualties. Japanese momentum broken. Over following days, Japanese launched several more attacks. All failed. By 10/28, 1942, Hakutake realized his offensive had failed. Japanese forces withdrew deeper into jungle. Henderson Field remained in American hands. Casualty counts revealed scale of Japanese defeat. Sendai Division suffered approximately 2,500 killed, 3,000 wounded. Marine casualties, approximately 90 killed, 200 wounded. Firepower and defensive positions had defeated mass infantry assault. Physical cost for Basilone and surviving Marines was severe. Hearing damaged from sustained machine gun fire. Hands blistered and burned, shoulders bruised from recoil. Eyes red from cordite smoke. Bodies exhausted from adrenaline crash. Psychological cost harder to measure. Basilone had killed hundreds of men. Watched 13 Marines in his sections die or get wounded. Spent 12 hours in sustained combat against overwhelming odds. Sleep brought nightmares. Waking brought memories. But Marines don't talk about psychological cost. Don't discuss nightmares. Don't admit trauma. They continue mission. Basilone returned to duty. Maintained guns. Trained replacements. Prepared for next battle. Recognition came to 1943. War Department announced Basilone would receive Medal of Honor for actions 10.2-425.9-2. Citation read, for extraordinary heroism and conspicuous gallantry in action against enemy Japanese forces. Above and beyond call of duty, while serving with 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division in Lunga area, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, on night of 24-25 October 1942. While the enemy was hammering at Marines' defensive positions, Sergeant Basilone, in charge of 2 sections of heavy machine guns, fought valiantly to check savage and determined assault. In a fierce frontal attack with Japanese blasting his guns with grenades and mortar fire, one of Sergeant Basilone's sections, with its gun crews, was put out of action, leaving only 2 men able to carry on. Moving an extra gun into position, he placed it in action, then, under continual fire, repaired another and personally manned it, gallantly holding his defensive position and causing Japanese losses so heavy that attack was disrupted. Gathering up spare ammunition and racing through hostile fire to deliver it, he continued his aggressive stand, repairing guns and holding line until replacements arrived. Medal of Honor presentation, 5.21-1943, in Australia. General Douglas MacArthur pinned medal on Basilone's chest. Photographers captured moment. Basilone looked uncomfortable with attention, deflected credit to Marines he fought with, insisted he had simply done his job. Marine Corps had different plans for Basilone. Hero was valuable for recruiting and morale. They sent him back to United States for war bond tour. Basilone traveled across country, giving speeches, selling bonds, shaking hands. Hated every minute. Wanted to return to combat unit. But mathematics of lives saved through Basilone's defensive action extend beyond immediate battle. Henderson Field remained operational because Marines held that position. Aircraft operating from Henderson Field continued interdicting Tokyo Express, continued supporting Marine ground operations, continued degrading Japanese capability to reinforce Guadalcanal. Conservative estimate, Basilone's action, and others like it along defensive line, saved 2,000–3,000 American lives over following months by preventing Japanese capture of Henderson Field, prevented Japanese from reinforcing effectively, prevented Japanese from launching coordinated offensive, enabled American forces to maintain pressure until Japanese evacuated 2.1943. Ripple effects extended throughout Pacific War. Guadalcanal demonstrated American forces could stand and fight against determined Japanese attacks, proved firepower and defensive positions could defeat mass infantry assaults, proved Marines would hold ground no matter cost. More critically, battle marked psychological turning point. Before Guadalcanal, Japanese military commanders believed they were facing enemy that could be broken through aggressive tactics and superior fighting spirit. After Guadalcanal, they understood they were facing enemy that would not break, that had industrial superiority, that was willing to fight as long as necessary to win. This realization changed Japanese strategic planning for rest of war. Japanese commanders shifted from offensive operations aimed at destroying American forces to defensive operations aimed at making war so costly America would negotiate peace settlement. Defensive strategy failed because it was based on fundamental misunderstanding of American national character. Japanese believed Americans would grow tired of war and demand peace. Instead, American response to casualties was to produce more weapons, train more soldiers, fight harder. Post-war Japanese analysis of Guadalcanal campaign revealed this miscalculation. Colonel Masanobu Tsuji, operations officer who helped plan offensive, wrote in memoirs, "We underestimated American determination. We believed their industrial superiority would make them soft. Instead, it made them formidable. They had courage equal to ours but resources we could not match. Guadalcanal taught us we could not win war of attrition." Battle of Henderson Field demonstrated this pattern in microcosm. Japanese threw everything they had at Marine positions, inflicted significant casualties, still lost. American response was not to withdraw or negotiate, was to reinforce Marines, bring in Army troops, hold position at all costs. Basilone's story became legendary in Marine Corps, his name taught to every Marine recruit, his actions studied in military academies. His legacy lives on in Corps he served. But Basilone never sought glory or recognition, returned to combat despite opportunity to remain stateside as war bond hero and recruiter. Repeatedly requested return to combat unit. Marine Corps reluctantly agreed. Assigned to 5th Marine Division training at Camp Pendleton for invasion of Iwo Jima. 1945. Basilone landed on Iwo Jima with Company C, 1st Battalion, 27th Marines, leading his machine gun section across volcanic sand under heavy fire. Japanese defenders dug into fortified positions. Artillery and mortar fire raining down, Marines taking heavy casualties on beaches. Basilone moved forward under fire, directed his guns, destroyed Japanese blockhouse with demolitions, cleared path for Marines to advance off beach. Then Japanese mortar round hit. Shrapnel caught Basilone, killed him instantly. He was 27 years old, had survived impossible night on Guadalcanal against 3,000 Japanese soldiers. Died on Iwo Jima beach leading Marines he trained. Body recovered, buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His death was not waste, was continuation of service he chose. Marines he trained continued fighting. Took Iwo Jima after 36 days of brutal combat. Used airfield to support bombing raids on Japan. Saved hundreds of B-29 crews who made emergency landings there. Today, Basilone's legacy extends beyond Marine Corps. His hometown of Raritan, New Jersey holds annual parade honoring him. Basilone Bridge spans Raritan River, street named for him. Statue stands at waterfront, memorial dedicated to his service. At Guadalcanal, memorial stands near Henderson Field, lists Marines who fought there. Basilone's name among them. Simple, understated, like man himself. Modern Marine Corps teaches Basilone's story in leadership courses. Emphasizes principles he demonstrated. Know your weapon intimately, maintain fire discipline under pressure, lead by example, refuse to quit regardless of odds, deflect credit to those who serve with you. United States Military Academy's study Battle of Henderson Field in tactical courses. Lessons emphasized: importance of defensive preparation, value of sustained firepower, necessity of ammunition resupply, power of leadership under fire, mathematics of defensive positions against mass assault. Modern machine gun doctrine traces directly to lessons learned from Basilone's action and others like it. Emphasis on overlapping fields of fire, importance of ammunition discipline, value of crew redundancy, necessity of position preparation. All validated in blood on Guadalcanal Ridge. Connection between 1942, defensive tactics and modern combat doctrine isn't coincidental, is direct lineage. Principles proven on Guadalcanal remain valid in age of advanced weaponry and precision munitions. Story of John Basilone challenges comfortable narratives about individual heroism determining battle outcomes. Reveals that heroism matters, but so does preparation, firepower, defensive positions, ammunition supply, tactical doctrine, unit cohesion, leadership. Basilone succeeded not just because of personal courage, succeeded because he knew his weapon intimately, because he maintained fire discipline, because he led by example, because he refused to quit, because other Marines fought alongside him, because Puller positioned battalion effectively, because division held perimeter, because Navy controlled waters around Guadalcanal, because industrial base produced ammunition his guns consumed. Individual heroism was essential component, but only component. War is decided by systems, logistics, training, doctrine, industrial capacity. Heroes matter. Systems matter more. Yet, within those systems, individuals make critical decisions. Basilone could have retreated when position seemed untenable, could have withdrawn when casualties mounted, could have conserved ammunition instead of firing full suppression. Each decision could have changed outcome. Each decision mattered. That's why his story resonates, not because one Marine single-handedly defeated 3,000 Japanese soldiers, because one Marine, supported by other Marines, armed with reliable weapons, supplied with ammunition, positioned effectively, led courageously, made critical decisions under impossible pressure, and held his ground. Mathematics of that night: 16 Marines initially, 3 surviving unwounded, 2 machine guns, thousands of rounds expended, hundreds of Japanese killed, 1 defensive position held, Henderson Field secured, Pacific War trajectory altered. 1 Marine didn't stop 3,000 Japanese soldiers alone. 1 Marine, leading other Marines, using effective weapons, applying sound tactics, refusing to break, held impossible position, and changed history. Sometimes, that's how wars are won. Not through brilliant strategy or overwhelming force, through individuals refusing to quit when quitting seems rational, through Marines holding positions they're ordered to hold, through machine gunners firing until ammunition exhausts, through leaders making impossible seem achievable. John Basilone made impossible achievable, not because he was superhuman, because he was supremely human. Scared, determined, scaled, stubborn, refusing to accept defeat, even when defeat seemed inevitable. That was his legacy, not invincibility, not superhuman ability, just refusal to quit when quitting was a rational option. Marines still train on that principle, still teach that refusal, still honor that stubborn determination that held Ridge south of Henderson Field against impossible odds. Because sometimes, refusing to quit is all you need.